Israel has no right to bomb Iran, which is not threatening Israel. I've been to Gaza. I'm Jewish myself. I was treated very well. I met children. They're not taught to hate.
What road are you living on?
Israeli occupation that has denied them their basic rights. It's put them in a cage because it's not a normal state. It's a Jewish supremacist state.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. If you're watching this video and it's Salah time, please pause it and go pray and come back when you're done. Please check out the description section of this video to support the channel. I was sent a clip of a recent fiery panel debate between Aaron Maté and Emily Austin on the topic of Iran, Israel and Palestine. What's interesting is both Aaron and Emily are Jewish, with Emily taking an openly pro-Israel Zionist stance, calling for an Israeli war to be fought by the US against Iran, as well as championing the continued oppression of Palestine in the name of Jewish supremacy. Aaron, on the other hand, is an advocate for peace and equality for all human beings, regardless of their faith or ethnic background. Any reasonable person can see that Aaron's philosophy on life is a correct one, whereas Emily's, by contrast, is alarmingly separatist, deranged, and dangerous to say the least. Let's watch the first clip.
I'm glad you're anti-war and you're anti-aggression, but at what point can you live like that, knowing that Iran is not? Everyone who's against striking Iran's nuclear sites, I just have to ask them, okay, for now you want to stay out of it. And yes, right now it's an imminent threat to Israel until it's not. Then it will become an imminent threat to America. And let me tell you, once the nuclear weapon's already developed, good luck combating that then. So why don't you take the smarter decision to take care of the issue before it becomes too late? Because I'm glad you're anti-war. I don't think Khomeini cares what you think.
Well, it depends what kind of government you are if you're Israel. If you're a government that is committed to peace in the region, you would explore the available diplomatic opportunities, and there have been plenty. If you're a government like Israel, which it actually is, which is committed to hegemony and supremacy, of course you will see any group or country that challenges your supremacy as a threat. And that's why Israel is going after Iran. Iran supports groups that resist Israeli aggression. Hezbollah, for example, why does it exist? It was founded in response to Israel's invasion in 1982, which killed tens of thousands of people. The aim of that invasion was to basically wipe out the PLO, the main Palestinian group at that time. At a time when the PLO was calling actually increasingly for a compromise in which Palestinians accept a very, very small state. And that's the fundamental issue. Israel will not accept any right to Palestinian self-determination, and that's why it has enemies in the region. That's the fundamental problem. Iran even has endorsed the global consensus of a two-state solution in which Palestinians accept as 22% of their historic homeland, which was stolen from them by Israel. Even Iran has. Israel won't accept that because it's committed to occupation and supremacy. Iran has also proposed that there be a nuclear-free Middle East. So if you don't want us to get nuclear weapons, no one should have nuclear weapons. Israel won't even entertain that because Israel wants to threaten everybody else to preserve its hegemony. Scott invoked this 30 years ago. Iran also offered the U.S. to basically address all the issues on the table, including its support for Hezbollah. The Bush administration got that note from Iran and initially pretended they didn't even receive it before they ultimately ignored it. There also was the Iran nuclear deal, which everybody involved says Iran was respecting. It's only Israel, because of its foundational commitment to supremacy and aggression, which it continues to attack everybody else because it doesn't want anybody resisting its occupation and displacement, ethnic cleansing, and now mass murder of Palestinians. This notion that Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, try telling that to the millions of Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza who have been ruled by Israel for decades now and can't vote for their leaders, can't even move without Israeli permission, who die at checkpoints because Israel denies them medical care, who lack food and water. Right now in Gaza, there's literally a starvation crisis because Israel is controlling everything that comes in with the starvation siege. This notion that Israel is a democracy is a complete lie. Yes, it's a democracy nominally internally for the people that have Israeli citizenship, but not for the millions of Palestinians that it rules over in the West Bank and Gaza. It's not a democracy, it's a tyranny for them.
Emily seems to think it's strange to be anti-war and anti-aggression. She was also adamant that America should bomb Iran for Israel just in case they pose a potential threat to the US in the future. How ridiculously absurd and disturbingly malevolent. With that mentality, every country would have a reason to go to war with one another, based on the paranoid delusions that Emily is pushing, with the agenda of convincing America to fight for Israel. How about this instead? Israel can fight Iran all by themselves, and Emily Austin, along with all the talking heads online who desperately want to go to war, can join the Israeli military to assist them. As Aaron said, a government that holds peace as their main objective would explore diplomatic methods of finding a solution, which is the opposite of Israel's supremacist ideology. And the only reason that Israel wants a conflict with Iran is because Iran refuses to just roll over and allow them to control the Middle East. Aaron claimed that the same applies to Yemen, Lebanon, and Palestine, where resistance groups were formed as a result of Israel invading these countries and occupying their land. Some people will make the case that these groups have been prescribed as extremists in the West, but the question is by who? By pro-Israel Zionist politicians who hold positions in Western governments, which just shows that these labels are neither accurate nor reliable. As Aden said, Israel isn't detested in the Middle East due to anti-Semitism. It's because they're an aggressive regime that are responsible for the majority of the conflicts in that region. Aden also claimed that Iran has not only got behind a peaceful two-state solution between Israel and Palestine, but they also proposed that no country in the Middle East should ever have nuclear weapons. Two objectives that he claimed that Israel refuses to comply with, which debunks Emily's disingenuous Zionist rhetoric, as it clearly shows Israel as being the current and future threat to peace in the region, rather than Iran. And as Aden said, Israel is not the democracy they pretend to be to the rest of the world, as they only extend democratic rights to Jewish people, whilst treating others as subhuman, especially Palestinians, depriving them of basic human rights such as food, water, and medical supplies. Let's watch the next clip.
Aaron, I'm glad you hit all the buzzwords that are fancy on social media, but I hate to break it to you. Why would and why should Israel reward terror groups and terror states their right to self-determination? If in 2005 they experimented essentially by giving Gaza to the Palestinian people, and their way of, I guess you could call it, proving that they can self-determine their own, region, their own state, you can call it, their way of doing that was by constantly attacking their neighbors, doing multiple October 7th on smaller scales, and constantly cheering and indoctrinating children to hate their neighbor and hate Jewish people. Please explain to me what any normal country would do other than resist and not want them to be their next door neighbor. Please do.
Well, this is the point. Israel is not a normal country. It's an occupying country that was founded on ethnic cleansing and remains committed to that project. I'm glad you mentioned 2005. Why did Israel disengage from Gaza in 2005? The standard story is that Israel pulled out of Gaza, gave it back to the Palestinians, and they used that opportunity to turn Gaza into a terror state. Here's what actually happened. A top Israeli advisor, Dov Weisglass, explained at the time that the reason Israel disengaged from Gaza was that, first of all, it's costly to maintain illegal settlers in Gaza when Israel really wants to steal Palestinian land in the West Bank. Second of all, the aim of the disengagement was to put what he called formaldehyde on the peace process, that if we pull back from Gaza, that will ease the pressure on us to give Palestinians a state, again, in a tiny sliver of their stolen land, the West Bank, Gaza, East Jerusalem, to 22% of their historic homeland. That's what every single Israeli action, whether it's disengaging from Gaza or now committing mass murder in Gaza, is oriented around. It's denying Palestinians the right to self-determination. If Israel were a normal country, what it would do is say, we're going to, for the first time in our history, respect our own recognized borders, which are an Israeli state within the pre-1967 borders. Israel's not a normal state. It's an occupying state. It's an aggressive state, as it's showing now by committing terror against the people of Iran after more than a year-and-a-half-long genocide in Gaza. So if it were a normal state, Israel would say, these are recognized borders, the ones that everybody recognizes. We're going to rise to the level of Iran and Hamas and the other Palestinian leadership, the Palestinian Authority, and finally say Palestinians can have a big surrender for them, but still a state of their own in the West Bank, Gaza, East Jerusalem. It won't do that because it's not a normal state. It's a Jewish supremacist state.
Do you think Jordan's a normal state? Do you think Egypt's a normal state?
Explain what you mean by that.
You just said Israel's not a normal state, so I just asked you a question.
Yeah.
According to your own logic, is Jordan a normal state, and is Egypt a normal state?
Neither Jordan or Egypt are occupying millions of people and denying them their basic rights.
I'm not done with my point.
Also committing mass murder.
Wait, yes or no? Do you consider them normal states?
They're far more normal than Israel is, absolutely.
Okay. Both of them had jurisdiction over Gaza and also did not give Palestinians right to self-determination because they also didn't trust them, as did Kuwait when they expelled tens of thousands of Palestinians. But you consider Egypt and Jordan normal, or do you just hate Israel?
Israel is the state that was founded on ethnically cleansing all of those Palestinians and denying them their basic rights to exist. Now, I don't want to, it's not Gaza, it's not Egypt or Jordan's fault that Palestinians don't have a state of their own. They could do more to achieve that. Certainly. I wish they would stand up to Israel. Israel is the entity that refuses to give Palestinians their basic right to self-determination. They have millions of people under the barbaric occupation, and they never committed genocide, which Israel is currently doing in Gaza.
Emily Austin is driven by both blind prejudice and intentional discrimination. She frames Israel giving Gaza back to Gazans, as she put it, as some sort of good deed. Let's set aside the fact that this didn't happen the way she's saying it did, just so we can explore her warped logic. What right did Israel have to take any part of Gaza in the first place, let alone give and take bits and pieces of it as they please? Why does this woman think that's okay? And on top of this now tired and repetitive Israeli propaganda rhetoric, Emily raised the stakes by saying multiple October 7ths have taken place. I've got to give it to her. That is a new one. The only nation that is guilty of multiple historic massacres and invasions is the demonic state of Israel. Always remember, everything these Zionists accuse others of doing, they're guilty of doing themselves, because projection is their favourite deflection tactic. She even had the audacity to claim that Israel was a normal country. As Aden stated, Israel is not a normal country in any sense, as they were founded on the basis of aggression, occupation and ethnic cleansing, and remain committed to that separatist ideology, which is evident from their current genocide in Gaza and war with Iran. Aden effortlessly dismantled Emily's false claims by highlighting that the only reason Israel disengaged from Gaza in 2005 was because it was costing them too much to keep illegal settlers there, as opposed to keeping them in stolen homes in the West Bank. And also so that Israel could curb international pressure to give the Palestinians a state by adhering to their agreed pre-1967 borders. Emily bringing up Egypt and Jordan as some sort of defense of Israel was nothing short of idiotic. It's the same as when they say Egypt should take in Palestinians. Why should they? When Israel are doing the occupying and committing a genocide, if anything, Israel should take them in, as it's their fault. As Aaron stated, neither Jordan or Egypt are colonizing and killing Palestinians, whilst at the same time denying them their basic human rights, hence why comparing them to Israel is malicious and deceptive on Emily's part. Let's watch the last clip.
Aaron believes America has no right to interject into what's happening in Iran, but Hamas has the right to pull on October 7th and invade Israel because of the false narrative that they're occupied. So now moving on from that, I watched what Trump said this morning. I watched it live, actually. And I feel like the issue here is that everyone's equivocating what's happening in Iran to Iraq and Afghanistan. I'd argue that the people of Iran, the Persian people, are a bit more sophisticated than what Iraq was and what Afghanistan was, a little bit more secular. Half of them are resisting the regime, are calling for a regime change. Do I think it's America's burden to reassure that they have a new, whatever you want to call it, supreme leader, president, hopefully something more democratic? No. However, I do believe that at the very least, if we get rid of their nuclear facilities, the whole world is a better place. Trust me, the entire Middle East will be happy. UAE, Saudi, all the countries that are going more Western will be thanking us for that. And at the very best, within Iran, once it's in ruins, as Trump said, it won't be in ruins, we'll get a B-2 bomb, but once they have the opportunity to, they can overthrow the regime and state what it was pre-79. They don't need to be oppressed by their own anymore. The Iranian people are taking the streets. They're not chanting death to America anymore. They're chanting death to the dictator. So I feel like they're ready for this change. And it's not Iraq and it's not Afghanistan. I don't think Trump shows all of the reports to every single person in the United States or abroad. I really have a very hard time believing that Netanyahu called him, said, hey, bro, trust me, they have a nuclear weapon. And Trump was like, yeah, let's get involved. I think we know it's a little bit more.
That's exactly what happened, given that Trump is ignoring what his own director of national intelligence said, which has been bolstered in recent days by leaks to CNN and the New York Times, in which even the latest intelligence reports say the same thing. And there was no convincing evidence provided by Israel. This is basically the Iraq WMD hoax, wherein Dick Cheney, got the intelligence. He knew there was no Iraq WMD, so he ordered it to be fabricated, including through torture. This is basically the Iraq WMD hoax, except this time Trump isn't bothering to fabricate. He's just outsourcing the job to Israel. The reason to oppose war is not because it doesn't work. It's because you have no right to do it. You had no right as an illegal aggressor to invade Iraq. That was based on a lie, and the U.S. had no right to bomb it. Just as Israel has no right to bomb Iran, which is not threatening Israel, Israel has no right to occupy the people of Palestine. It only has the obligation to stop occupying them. And on that point, I've been to Gaza. I'm Jewish myself. I was treated very well. I met children. They're not taught to hate. They're just taught to have their eyes open and see what's in front of them.
What are you living on?
Israeli occupation that has denied them their basic rights. It's put them in a cage. If you don't want Hamas there, don't put them under one of the most sadistic military occupations in the world, in which Israel controls even what kind of food people can eat, which now has been reduced to Holocaust levels. 20 years ago, that was at the levels where Israel was counting the calories, literally, so that they would give the people of Gaza just enough food so there wouldn't be a full-blown starvation crisis. One Israeli official referred to this as putting them on a diet. That's called sadism. And it's the root cause of all problems in the Middle East. If you don't want wars, if you don't want conflict, the first place to start is with our aggression, our tyranny. And the fundamental tyranny that threatens everybody is Israel's oppression and now mass murder of the Palestinian people.
Just when we thought Emily Austin couldn't sink any lower, she denied the very fact that Palestine is occupied and ridiculously compared Hamas versus Israel to America versus Iran on behalf of Israel. Looks like the Israeli propaganda is getting sloppier by the second. Denying Israel's illegal occupation of Palestine is like denying human beings breathe and oxygen. And as far as Hamas versus Israel goes, that happened as a direct result of Israel's actions in Palestine. The same goes for the conflict with Iran, which once again resulted from Israel's actions. Throwing America in the mix is just a stupid and lazy comparison to make. But with these Zionists, nothing has to make sense, as long as it serves their Jewish supremacy agenda. Emily not only denied that the excuses being used for a war with Iran are from the same playbook as those given to invade Iraq and Afghanistan, she also took her mask off and went into full bigot mode when she said some Iranians are more sophisticated due to them mimicking Westerners compared to the Arab savages in those other countries. She also claimed that the Iranian people are not happy with their government. Even if that is the case, how does that justify them being invaded and bombed? If you ask any set of people in any country, the likelihood is that many of them are not happy with their governments either. Just look at the UK, for example, or France or Canada. Just because the public is not happy does not give another country the right to interfere with their politics by forcing a regime change through war. Emily is a complete moron for suggesting so, and her claim that the westernized Gulf nations would benefit from Iran's nuclear facilities being bombed just further proves her incompetence. If Iran's nuclear facilities are bombed, the Gulf nations' water supply will be polluted and they'll be in a state of emergency fighting for their survival. This lady really needs to grow a brain. Her claim that Donald Trump, a man who is said to be on the Epstein list, did his research before dragging the US into a war with Iran rather than him being compromised by Netanyahu and the Israeli government was laughable. As Aaron said, Trump is 100% compromised, as he is ignoring US government officials who recently reported that Iran is not a nuclear threat and is instead believing Netanyahu, who has lied about Iran having nukes on repeat since 1984. Aaron was spot on when he said that Iran's situation is the same weapons of mass destruction hoax that was used to justify a war with Iraq under false pretenses. As Aaron said, the US had no right to go into Iraq and do what they did, just like they have no right to go into Iran to try and do the very same thing. Just like Israel has no right to starve, mistreat and kill people in Palestine, which as he put it is the root cause of all the problems in the Middle East, which can only be solved by stopping Israel's tyranny and aggression instead of starting more wars. Aaron Maté gets my respect for not only having the courage to stand up for the Palestinians, but for also going to Gaza to find out the truth for himself. As he said, he experienced no prejudice as a Jewish person whilst there, nor did he see children that were radicalised basically debunking decades-old false Israeli propaganda. If you watch the full episode, you'll see Emily Austin make an absolute fool of herself as she gets educated by other panel members on Iran's political history and the intricacies of their nuclear program, which she is painfully uninformed about. Israel really needs to step up their propaganda game, as they're sending unethical idiots out to get smoked by intelligent and morally sound people. Thank you for watching. Make sure to join my free Telegram group via the link in the description, and remember to like, subscribe and become a channel member for access to exclusive content. Until next time, inshallah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah